Cece, keep an eye on your sister. Mommy will go downstairs to fetch your god-grandfather up. Mommy, why don't you give her more drugs? You're too young to understand. Less potency is better. Your grandpa likes fresh fish, he doesn't like dead fish. After my own mother, Jean Schumann, left, my half-sister, Jin Xi, patted my face and said in a happy tone, "It's thanks to you that I was able to study in Europe, my good sister." I was originally a little bit confused, and my brain had a trace of clarity after being patted by her. Didn't I jump to my death when that naked, fat, drooping belly perverted old man was ready to insult me? Have I? I've been reborn. Jin's hand holding a leather whip, from my chest sliding downwards, came to my thighs when, there is a moment without a moment to whip, light laugh, sister so delicate body, dry grandpa will be good love you, dry grandpa's toys can be really a lot of awe said and then picked up the handcuffs and ropes on the side of the table to play with it. I raised my eyes and glanced at Jinsi, she was turning her back to me, here's my chance. I laboriously raised my hand to my ear and pulled out the earring, pressed my hand underneath my body, turned slightly sideways and used the weight of my body to forcefully press the earring pin into the nail slit. With 10 fingers, the pain in my fingertips instantly went straight to my head, but I could only clench my teeth, not daring to make a single sound. But it made my mind clearer, and my control over my body came back a bit. I braced myself and copied the ashtray on the bedside tabletop, rotating my body to use the inertia to slam it onto Jinsi's head, and she collapsed onto the couch with a muffled grunt. I took the bottle of drink that they had drugged and poured it into Jinsi's mouth. After doing this, my stamina was already almost overdrawn, thinking that Jean Schumann and the others were coming back soon. I just had to grit my teeth and hold on. I grabbed Jinsi's cell phone and mimicked her tone, sending a message to Jean Schumann. "Mommy, she's sleeping like a dead pig, she's bored to death, I'm going to go play with my friends." Before leaving, I locked the balcony door and turned off the lights. Looking over at Jinsi, who was paralyzed on the couch, I leaned on the couch and said, "I heard that your god-grandfather loves to abuse and beat before slowly ravaging her, so enjoy it for me, my good sister." With my mind in a daze again, I pulled off the other ear pin, closed my eyes and ruthlessly aimed it at the nail of my index finger and pushed it in. The pain hit me again, and it made me break out in a cold sweat. I moved outside the room while I was still conscious, holding onto the wall. But the elevator around the corner came from Jean Schumann's fawning voice, "Godfather, you will absolutely be satisfied, then CC to study abroad at the European Conservatory of Music." An old man with a throat like stuck phlegm and a thick nasal voice said, small problem, he he he, I haven't tried a mother and daughter yet, why don't I add you and CC together?" "Oops, Godfather, CC is still young, she ran off to play with her friends. Besides, Yao Yao is a big girl, she hasn't had a boyfriend yet." Hey. Big baby understands Godfather." There was a sound as if a palm slapped some elastic flesh, followed by a lewd and obscene laughter. "Godfather, if you don't see anything else, I'll leave first. Go, don't bother me tonight." I saw that the perverted old man was about to turn into the corridor, but my physical strength could not support me to run to the elevator room. I took a gamble and went to the next room, frantically ringing the doorbell and shaking the door handle. Just as I was about to despair, the door to the room was opened. Too late to see the visitor, my whole body had flung itself inside and turned to close the door to the room as vertigo set in. Before fainting, while the last trace of consciousness flew, I was drugged. Please do not drive me out. In a trance, I only saw a man catching me. Is God going to kill me? Just out of the tiger's den and into the wolf's den again. I couldn't hold on to my consciousness any longer and fell into the boundless darkness. When I woke up the next day, I immediately lifted the covers and checked that my clothes were intact, and my whole body was not in discomfort, so my heart was finally put down. Lifting my hand, I saw that my injured finger had been bandaged. Looking around the room, I was left alone. Taking out my cell phone, it showed a dozen missed calls and messages from Jean Schumann and Jean Xi. "Yao, are you still a human being? You ruined your own sister, you're so vicious. You little bitch, you deserve to be ridden by thousands of people. White-eyed wolf, why don't you go to hell? Yao, I'll kill you." I read every single one of their cursing messages, the more vicious they cursed, the happier I was. Evil people always fail to realize their own evil. I'm just paying them back for what they did to me in my past life, and that's all it takes to break the defense. Seeing me coming back, Xiao Ma, who was eating, asked cautiously, Yao Yao, you don't look too good, are you sick? I'm fine. When I came back home, I saw my familiar family in front of me, and my uneasy heart was finally at ease. So, do you want some wontons? I just made them this morning. I smiled and said, sure. My mom froze in place after hearing this. In my last life, I usually ignored my mom, not to mention talking to her with a smile. Even my father looked at me in surprise. Little Mom, who had regained her senses, was so excited that her hands were in a frenzy. She hurriedly said, Yao Yao said yes, I'll go to Xing now. Dad asked with an expression of seeing a ghost, are you possessed by a fairy? Dad. I blankly glanced at Dad in a bad mood. Come on, Yo-Yo, eat it while it's hot, I didn't put any cilantro in it. Little Mom always remembers all my preferences carefully. Thank you, Mom. I took the small wontons and sat next to Dad. Pfft. Dad, who was drinking the soup, spewed it out directly. Luckily I dodged fast, or else the soup would have been full of Dad's saliva. Little Mom asked Dad with an unbelievable face, June brother, what did Yao Yao just say? Daughter, say it again, Dad seems to be hallucinating. Thank you, Little Mom. You two are married, isn't it right for me to call her Little Mom when I call you Dad? Right. You're so polite today. I pretended that I didn't hear my father's tone of voice, and looked at my Little Mom, who was sitting across from me, and begged for confirmation. Little Mom, you think so, don't you? I called it wrong, right? Yao Yao good Yao Yao didn't call it wrong. Little Mom smiled and turned her head, quietly wiping the tears from the corners of her eyes. I have never seen her smile so happily in my last life, so she is so beautiful and her smile is as warm as a spring day, making people feel warm. My father handed my mom a tissue and said, my child has grown up, she understands things, it's a good thing, don't cry, don't cry. Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. After saying this, he shook Xiao Ma's arm in a petulant manner. You're not a father to your children. Little Mother shyly turned around and went to get a drink for father. Look at more than 1 meter of old Dad looking at the back of the Little Mom obsession. Goosebumps fell all over the place, cannot help but touch the arm, spit out, do not see, you are still an old look brain ah. Dad waved his hand, said with a face of indignation, go, you a single dog know what. I pretended to casually ask, Dad, can you take me to the Lin family wedding banquet tonight? I'm too bored to stay home alone. Tonight, Mrs. Lin is marrying her daughter-in-law. Jean Schumann will definitely be there. She's always wanted to squeeze into the circle of rich wives. If I don't go, I'm afraid that she'll take her anger out on my Little Mom. Didn't you used to dislike going out with us? Said Dad looking at Xiao Ma. It seems that my previous attitude towards Xiao Ma has left a shadow on them all. On the first day Little Mom entered the house, I pointed at her and told Dad, there's only one real mom for me, and that's Jean Schumann. I'll never call this vixen Mom. As if Xiao Ma was afraid that I would be upset, she kicked Dad's foot, signaling him to stop talking. June, if Yao Yao wants to go, she can go together. Ah! I nodded happily at Little Mom. In this life, it's my turn to love you. At the Lin family's wedding banquet, Dad was seated with his uncles, and according to reason, Little Mother and I should have been assigned to the same women's table. But Mrs. Lin arranged for me to sit at the table of Jean Schumann and Jean Xi, thinking that we mother and daughter wanted to sit together. When Jean Schumann saw me, her original expression of talking and laughing with the others immediately became a bit cloudy. Jin Xi, who was sitting beside her, looked at me as if she were a poisonous snake, staring at me with a deadly gaze. With the thick foundation on her face, a faint purple and green color could still be vaguely seen. It seems that her godfather didn't put much effort on her last night. Just after sitting down, Jean Schumann came over and whispered through clenched back teeth, Yao Yao, come out here. Little Mom saw that the atmosphere was not quite right, put her hand on my hand. Her eyes were full of worry and care. She wanted to open her mouth to inquire about me, but she didn't dare to open her mouth due to her status. I reached out and shook her hand, signaling with my eyes that she didn't need to worry. Jean Schumann saw the small movements of the two of us and couldn't help but raise her voice and said, "Is it this bitch who instigated you to harm our CC?" There were quite a few people around us casting curious and searching eyes in our direction, and Mrs. Lin, who was entertaining people not far away, stared at Jean Schumann unhappily, as if scolding her for her rudeness. Jean Schumann apologized to Mrs. Lin with a fawning face. She still had to let Mrs. Lin introduce her baby daughter to the gentleman in her circle, so she naturally didn't dare to offend Mrs. Lin. "Don't talk about me with your foul mouth." Jean Schumann lowered her voice and scolded, "Your mom? You call this bitch your mom? I really gave birth to a white-eyed wolf. Have you raised me for a day? Don't disgust me in front of me." When I saw Jean Schumann now, I remembered her disgusting face when she was trying to sacrifice me to her godfather. "You Yao, you wait for me." Jean Schumann put down her harsh words and left. The anger of abandonment and betrayal spread again in my heart. I clenched my fists tightly, wishing to crush Jean Schumann. My little mom looked at me worriedly and gently broke my clenched fists apart and asked, Yao, is there some kind of misunderstanding between you two? You can tell me anything, don't keep it to yourself. If I can't help, let's go to your father, he can definitely help you." My little mom's soft voice gradually calmed the anger inside me. "Aha, I'm fine, I'll talk to you guys if there's something wrong. I know you guys are the best people in the world to me. Okay, so I'm going to go to the bathroom first," little mom said shyly. "Okay." Looking at Xiaoma's back as she left, I felt a little strange. Xiaoma seems to be going to the bathroom a lot lately. When she comes back I have to remind her if she needs to see a doctor. How come Xiaoma hasn't come back after going for so long? I swept a glance at the banquet table next to me. Jinxi wasn't in her seat either. A bad feeling instantly rose in my heart. I ran quickly to the restroom, but there was no sign of little mother in there at all. I couldn't call up Dad in time. I immediately rushed to the stairwell. I didn't know why I was going here. My intuition told me I must go quickly. Pushing open the door of the stairwell, the scene in front of me was like a slow-motion scene. Jinxi maintained the action of pushing little mother with both hands, and little mother's whole body leaned back and fell towards the back of the stairs. And in an instant, I erupted with a huge amount of energy. My entire body leapt forward, and I was about to grab Xiaoma's hand. I was so close. I was so close. I just watched my mom's hand miss my hand, and I screamed, "No." Suddenly, a pair of slender hands stretched out behind little mother, steadily catching her, and a nice male voice rang out, "Are you all right?" I'm fine." The stunned little mom stayed in place. Lying on the ground, I raised my head to look at the safe and sound little mother, and cried with joy, "Oh, scared me to death. How much longer are you going to be on the ground?" After saying that, a long and strong hand grabbed my arm and picked me up like a chicken. Thank you. Standing steadily, I thanked the man in front of me repeatedly. Jinxi also pretended to be frightened, grabbed the man's arm, and said pitifully, "Luckily there's you, or else something serious would have happened. What's your name?" "My name is Jinxi." After saying this, he reached out his hand to the man. The man raised his hand to break free from the arm that was grabbed by Jinxi, swept his hand over the clothes that were touched as if he was sweeping something dirty, and said coldly, "I don't like people touching me, and I'm not interested in who you are." Saying that, he left. Jinxi was deflated and prepared to leave with a displeased face. I supported little mother and drank Jinxi down. "Stop, why did you push her?" Xiaoma, however, opened her mouth to explain, Yao, it's me who can't stand on my own. Did you hear that? She can't stand on her own." Then Jinxi went back to the banquet hall. I shouted angrily at Xiaoma, "Being too kind will do you harm, do you know that? If that man hadn't saved you, you would have fallen down the stairs and lost your life." I was really scared, my mood became irritable, and my tone of voice was not good. Just after I finished speaking, I regretted and felt a bit guilty. If it wasn't because of me, Jinxi wouldn't have intentionally targeted Xiaoma. I secretly reflected in my heart, just now tone is not too heavy, little mother may be angry with me, otherwise why has not said anything. I was about to apologize to little mother. I was about to apologize to my little mom, when I looked up and saw my little mom staring at me with almond-like eyes. Her eyes were shining brightly, her expression seemed to be very happy. She asked in a very small voice, Yao Yao. Are you caring about me? I really lost my temper with this simple little mom, and said breathlessly, or else. Oh, I'm happy hey, Yao Yao, my stomach seems to be hurting. I looked down, there was blood seeping out of her white dress. I pressed down the fear in my heart and tried to comfort in a calm tone, little mom, don't worry, I'll ask Dad to take you to the hospital right away. In the hospital, I bought water from the vending machine and came back. At the door of the hospital room, I heard the doctor say to my dad and my mom, it's good that we got to the hospital in time, the fetus is fine, you're in the early stages of your pregnancy now, you have to pay attention to your emotions, don't have too many ups and downs. Pregnant? My wife is pregnant. That's great. I'm finally going to be a father again. Dad excitedly grabbed the doctor's hand, thank you, doctor, we will take care of it. You're welcome, observe for one more night, no problem, you can be discharged tomorrow. Okay, doctor. Compared to Dad's excitement, Xiao Ma didn't seem half as happy, and even frowned tightly, looking worried. Dad, a big straight man, finally noticed that Xiao Ma's mood was not right, and sat beside Xiao Ma's bed and asked with concern, Ahui, what's wrong with you? Not feeling well? June brother, I don't want a child, now this child comes at the wrong time. Dad stood up and asked, why don't you want a child? We have been married for so many years, don't you want your own child? I also felt very strange, little mom was so good to me as her stepdaughter, why didn't she want her own child instead? Yao Yao, she has only eased her relationship with me, you don't know how worried she was about me today, I really feel happy and blessed. I don't agree. I don't agree either. Dad and I objected in unison. When my little mom saw me coming in through the door, she asked with a little bit of urgency, Yao Yao, you heard that? I've been at the door since the doctor said you were pregnant. Why don't you want your own child? Little mom looked at me, stroked my hair and said softly, I have a child, you are my child. I'm afraid that I won't be able to level the playing field later and you'll both be hurt, so I might as well not have one now. She thought of me from the beginning to the end, considering my feelings. I hugged my little mom tightly and choked, Mom. Eh. I reached out to wipe my little mom's tears and touched the baby in her belly and urged, Mom, you have to give birth to one more sibling, one more person to love me. I don't know if other people's moms' ends are even, but I know you can. Yes, and me, I can too. Dad stepped forward and hugged me and my little mom in his arms, saying happily, from now on, we will be a happy family of 4, 5, and 6. My mom snapped, you think I'm a sow? Then I'll be Paige. Yo-yo, you're just like your father. Dad even made a piggy grunting sound on purpose. My little mom and I were both amused. A happy and harmonious family was what I had longed for since I was a child. Childhood wishes came true in this moment. I walked into a Muay Thai gym. A strong body is essential if you want to protect your little mom and yourself. Miss, may I ask if you know any trainers? The front desk lady asked me with a big smile on her face. I don't, I'll take him. I pointed at the man wiping his sweat next to the front desk, the sweat sliding down his tight muscle lines, radiating the ultimate allure of testosterone. What a coincidence, meeting the man who saved little mom here. Miss, he is not. It's okay, I'll teach her. First of all, I'm strict, if you can't keep up with my training rhythm, you'll hire someone else. Don't worry, coach, I can do it. I looked at the coach firmly. The lady at the front desk helped me with my card with an odd look on her face. After changing my clothes, I stood up to the ring and asked the man leaning against the treadmill, Coach, we can start now. My name is Lu Fei. He patted the treadmill, run first, when you've run enough to cover 10 kilometers in an hour, we'll move on to the next stage. What? Coach Lu, is 10 kilometers so much? Lu Fei's skin is a healthy wheat color, obvious muscle lines, looks angular, three-dimensional features belong to the thick face system. Handsome, obviously is the sunny and cheerful type of appearance, but the eyes from time to time reveals the majesty. Young, how to look like an old cadre. Are you going to run? Run, I'm running now. After running 10 kilometers, my legs felt like they were ruined, and I stepped on the floor as if I were stepping on cotton, soft and flimsy. Lu Fei looked at the treadmill monitor and said, 2 hours and 18 minutes, your stamina is too poor, rest for 20 minutes and then go shake the rope. I'm almost out of breath. Come shake the rope if you're not out of breath. Coming. At 11 p.m., I walked into the elevator, dragging my broken body step by step. Just as I was about to press the close button, an upright figure walked into the elevator. I looked up, tried to squeeze out a smile, and greeted him nicely, Coach Lu, what a coincidence. Lu Fei cast a sidelong glance at me and said with a smile on his face, don't smile, it's too ugly to smile. I was about to retort, when the elevator suddenly plunged down, and I reflexively grabbed Lu Fei's arm next to me in a panic. In a flash of lightning, Lu Fei pressed the button on each floor, and the elevator, which had been falling for a while, finally stopped on the 7th floor. Lu Fei immediately pressed the emergency button and called to the management, there is a malfunction in the passenger elevator of Building A, the elevator door can't be opened, we are on the 7th floor, please send someone to rescue us. Okay, sir, please don't open the elevator door, we'll send someone over right away, please be patient. I was still in a state of shock, holding on to Lu Fei's arm tightly. Lu Fei comforted me, don't be nervous, they are sending someone over, just relax. The narrow space made me feel oppressed and uncomfortable, my whole body seemed to be nailed down, what's worse, the elevator etc. flickered a few times and went out. The elevator plunged us into darkness, boundless fear spread in the bottom of my heart, my throat felt like it was being strangled, while the air around me felt as if it was being taken away, I felt unable to breathe, desperately trying to pull off the collar, then my whole body went limp on the ground. Yi Yao, what's wrong with you? I could hear Lu Fei calling out and felt him patting my face with his hand, but I didn't even have the strength to lift a finger and respond to him. In the darkness, a nice smell of woody perfume gradually came, and I felt Lu Fei come over and kiss my lips lightly, gently breaking my jaw with his hand, his warm tongue nimbly prying open my tightly closed teeth, taking a breath of air into my mouth, and then repeating it over and over again. I greedily sucked the fresh air from Lu Fei's mouth, the feeling of suffocation slowly faded, gradually regaining independent breathing. At this time, Lu Fei's low, hoarse voice rang out, teasingly saying, have you sucked enough? You're a little vixen who sucks the air out of people. I was struck by lightning when I heard this, and I froze in place, not daring to move. My face instantly turned red, burning hot, but in the darkness, he could not see my face. At this time I hate myself why I did not pass out. Luckily, people's calls came from outside the elevator, and then the building's management opened the elevator. I didn't bother to thank Lu Fei, as soon as the door opened I scurried out, afraid that he would bring up the matter of inhaling again. As I walked downstairs, I saw Sister Lu, who was taking care of my little mom at home, looking around furtively. I wanted to call out to her, but looking at her suspicious appearance, I swallowed it back. Sister Lu looked around, no one. Footsteps hurried toward the side of our building, where there is a remote path. It is now the middle of the night, there will be no one to go. Sister Lu went there in the middle of the night to do what? I cat in the green belt, quietly tailing her. Sister Lu stopped at the corner, and it seemed that a person had met her there. That person stood at the dark shadow. Through the moonlight I could only make out the vague outline of that person, but I recognized it at once. It was her. Why is Jean Schumann here? What is she planning with Sister Lu? I took out my cell phone and quietly recorded them, but in the silence of the night, they lowered their voices, so I couldn't really hear the content. But I saw Jean Schumann took a package of things handed to Sister Lu. Sister Lu nervously put in her arms and went back. The next day, I set the alarm clock to get up early. Little Mom has been suffering from pregnancy sickness for the past 2 months. She will sleep late, and this time she hasn't gotten up yet. Come to the dining table, I just sat down. Dad looked out the window and quipped, I can see the sun coming out of the west this morning. I woke up early to have breakfast with you because I'm the sweetest thing in the world. Is Mom still not feeling well? Did Sister Lu prepare something for her to eat? She's still a bit nauseous, so Sister Lu prepared some sour plum soup for her, saying that pregnant women in her hometown like to drink this when they lose their appetite. Sister Lu came out from the kitchen, carrying a bowl of soup, and replied, yes, I'll bring it to Mrs. Lu now. Sister Lu, put it here first. Sister Lu didn't put down the bowl in her hand, but said, Miss Yi, this should be drunk while it's hot, it's not good for pregnant women to drink it too cold. I raised my eyebrows and asked in a stern voice, it's the pregnant woman who can't drink the cold stuff or you who can't drink this bowl of your stuff, you know it very well in your heart. You, what do you mean by that? Mr. Yi, please judge me, is it wrong for me to say that pregnant women should drink while it's hot? Why does Miss Yi make it sound like I'm poisoning Mrs. Yi? Sister Lu turned her head to Dad and started crying, and pretended to wipe the tears from the corners of her eyes. Dad pondered for a while and said to Sister Lu, don't cry first, Yao Yao is not an unreasonable child, there might be some misunderstanding in between. Yao Yao, is something wrong? Dad, look at this. In addition to the video I recorded last night, I also secretly installed a surveillance camera in the kitchen and recorded the video of Sister Lu putting something in Xiaoma's soup, and I showed it all to Dad. Dad watched it and frowned, his face suddenly became gloomy, there is an air of anger and authority, and the usual happy look is a different person. Dad put my cell phone on the video spread to Sister Lu to see, sullen voice, Sister Lu, you are your own say, or go to the police station to say. Seeing that the window of truth, Sister Lu's face was also a burst of green and white, her body trembled with fear, and she fell to her knees, bawling, Mr. Yi, please don't call the police, I was confused, my son is going to graduate school, and I can't go to jail, please give me a break, what's in the soup? What did you put in the soup? Who ordered you? Sister Lu swept me a quick glance, hesitated and said, it's saffron, your ex-wife gave it to me. What an evil heart, once you drink this medicine, the baby in my little mom's tummy won't be saved. I really don't know, I'm a country bumpkin who really doesn't know anything about this, please don't call the police, I'm just trying to earn some tuition for my son, I really don't know anything. Dad pondered for a moment and said to Sister Lu, you go. Dad, however, waved his hand to interrupt me. Sister Lu grabbed the door as if she was pardoned. Dad, why are you letting her go? Call the police to have Kim Shuman arrested. I was really angry with Dad for letting Sister Lu go, who knows what else Jean Shuman will do in the future. Yao Yao, with the evidence we have, we can't convict her, she can blame it on Sister Lu and get herself cleaned up. I know what Dad said is not unreasonable, I am just angry with myself, knowing that Jean Shuman wants to harm my little mom, but I can't do anything about it. Yao Yao, tell Dad the truth, did something happen between you and your mom, that is Jean Shuman? Gazing at Dad's concerned and inquiring eyes, and remembering the experience of being killed by Jean Shuman in my last life, my eyes reddened and I choked and called out Dad, and then I couldn't speak anymore. Dad was so shocked that he stood up, came to sit next to me, and said solemnly, Yao Yao, don't be afraid, tell Dad the truth, Dad will do it for you. As I cried, I told Dad everything about Jean Shuman drugging me to be sacrificed to the perverted old man, and Jean Xi deliberately pushing my little mom. Dad was so angry that he hammered his fist on the dining table and said indignantly, bastard. Jean Shuman is so fucking inhuman that she victimized her own daughter. I'm sorry that I didn't protect you and your mother properly. If there's a first time, there's a second time. Once there is a second time. I had a flash of light in my head. The fact that Jean Shuman was able to do such a heartless thing meant that it wasn't the first time she had victimized someone. Dad, it's definitely not the first time that Kim Shuman has done something evil, we just need to catch them with evidence of their crimes, then we can send them in. Leave this to me, I have an old comrade in arms, his son is now a police officer, I will talk to them about this situation, and take down these bastards as soon as possible. At first, I thought Lu Fei was the coach of this Muay Thai gym, until he confessed that he wasn't a coach when a sister wanted to hire him as a coach too. Why didn't you say so earlier? You didn't ask. You? Me? Are you still practicing? Yes. One lesson, one meal. Okay. After 4 months of Lufthansa's devilish training, my physical strength has obviously improved. Attack in close quarters, turn around quickly, don't use your waist, the power will be lost. Remember to use both feet to stomp on the ground to generate power quickly and violently. Lu Fei said while demonstrating to me. Lu Fei's movements were crisp and clean, yet full of power, I couldn't help but praise, Coach Lu is so handsome. Practice the left and right fist 500 times. Lu Fei, you're not being kind. At another 500 times. I made a zipper movement with my hand over my mouth, signaling that I would stop talking. After the training, I invited Lu Fei to dinner as usual. Recently, we had eaten at all the big and small restaurants in the neighborhood, and my food bank had been emptied. What are we going to eat today? You'll find out later. I'll go get the car. I went downstairs to the parking lot and waited for Lu Fei. I then braked sharply and stopped beside me. Three gangster-like men came down from the van and rushed straight to my side. One of them, Scarface, stroked his chin and said to his accomplices, yellow hair and tattooed man, with a lewd look on his face, "It's this chick, isn't it? That's her. This chick is pretty hot." Yellow hair said as he grabbed his hand toward me. I retreated half a step, grabbed his wrist, and slammed him onto the road. The other two men froze in place in shock. "Ega, what the hell are you guys waiting for?" The two men reacted to the front and back of me. I dodged when I grabbed an opening left hook hit the yellow hair was about to get up on the stomach. Yellow hair wailed and fell to his knees. After I blocked away Scarface's fist, the next second, the back of my head came to pain, darkness in front of my eyes and lost consciousness. Yao yao, wake up. The shouts of my little mom came from my ears. I opened my eyes and saw that my little mom, who was pregnant, had her hands and feet tied, and was now lying on her side beside me. I anxiously wanted to help her untie it, but when I looked down, I realized that I was also tied up myself. At this time, Jin Shuman and Jin Xi walked in. Jin Xi pointed at the room with a grim smile and said to me, "Yi Yao Yao, isn't this place familiar? I'm going to make you double the pain I suffered here. She has nothing to do with this, let her go." No, I won't go, don't hurt Yuyo, come at me if you have anything to do." Jin Shuman seems to have heard some big joke. Ha 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 ha, what a pair of mother-daughter love. Those who don't know still think that you are out of her belly. I should have covered my pillow more tightly back then. The reason for my childhood fear of the darkness materialized all of a sudden. Why do you hate me so much? Why did you even give birth to me? If I hadn't been forced to marry your father, Cece's father and I would have gotten married a long time ago. Cece wouldn't have been an illegitimate daughter, and now she can't go back to her family. So what's wrong with me? You could have chosen not to get married, not to have me. Go and pursue your so-called true love, but you blame me and Dad for your incompetence and cowardice. You're really ridiculous." Snap! Jin Shuman slapped me on the face, which instantly swelled up. "It's not your turn to lecture me. Stop it. Don't hit Yo-Yo." Little mom struggled to get in front of me. Jin Xi had a look of watching the show and said to Jin Shuman, "Mommy, no need to be angry, we'll see if she can still be so tough talking later." That's right, after Godfather is done enjoying himself, let Scar give Yi Yao Yao a drink of high-purity white wine, then throw the two of them in the car and pretend to be drunk drivers. Everything of Yi Yao Yao's will be yours, Xi. So it turns out that Jin Shuman is preparing to eat the Jedi. If I die, Jin Shuman can rightfully inherit the part of the inheritance that belongs to me. She's in the way of little mother's pregnancy and wants to settle us once and for all. The old man with the spit stuck in his mouth came in and walked towards Jin Shuman's mother and daughter. "Babies, it's up to me." Jinxi blushed and hid behind Jin Shuman. The old man wrapped them in his arms and said to Jinxi with a sideways glance, "Cece baby, I'll let grandfather Godfather hurt you too, the taste you had last time. TSK. I've gone back and forth several times. Mom, I'm leaving first." Jinxi fled as if she had left the room. The old man still wanted to stop, but was persuaded by Jin Shuman. "Godfather, you have the two of them to cheer you up tonight." Yes, you've got some really high-quality goods this time. Yo, there's also a pregnant one, ha ha ha, I've never tried a pregnant woman before. Godfather, take your time. Well, let's go. The old man dragged his fat legs, slowly moved to the bedside in front of the lamp. I do not know what to do, turned around and came back to us, holding a small whip in his hand, one without a slap on the hand. "Obscene, babies, let's play an appetizer first." The little mom moved around and said shakily, "Let my daughter go, I'll stay here." "No. Let my mom go, I'll stay." Hey, babies, don't argue, none of you are going anywhere, play with me enough before you leave. The old man put his hand on my thigh and squeezed it. I took the opportunity to put my legs together and stomped on him. But he was too fat. I used my whole body strength but only kicked him staggered. It's quite strong. I like it. I like energetic girls like you, it makes me feel young. His face was full of fat meat that trembled when he smiled. It was indescribably disgusting. He smiled lewdly and tried to grab my breasts, and it looked like he was about to get his way. There was a commotion outside the door, and then Scarface flew in like a kite with broken strings. Lu Fei rushed in and looked down at us and asked, "Are you guys okay?" "We're fine." The back of the tattooed man took the opportunity to take the dagger to sneak attack Lu Fei. See, he's about to stab. Lu Fei quickly turned around to remove his dagger. At the same time the tattooed man's hand clicked, presumably broken. The situation in front of him made the perverted old man not dare to move, holding up his hands and said, I didn't do anything." Lu Fei took out the handcuffs and dragged the scarred man who flew in, and the wailing tattooed man was handcuffed together, and the old man took the initiative to hand his hands together in front of Lu Fei. I just noticed that Lu Fei actually have handcuffs. Curious, I asked him, "How do you have handcuffs? Do you also like to play SM?" Lu Fei rolled his eyes at me and said breathlessly, "Didn't Uncle Yi tell you? He's friends with my dad and asked me to keep an eye on your neighborhood." "You're that cop's son?" Lu Fei had a look like you just realized it now, and walked over to help little mother and I untie ourselves. "Officer, I don't know what's going on, they were lying here as soon as I got back to the hotel. It's really none of my business," he said. The old man said, but his eyes unconsciously drifted in the direction of the table lamp. Remembering what he just said to Jinxie about recalling a few times, I immediately pointed at the lamp and said to Lu Fei, "Quickly check the lamp." Lu Fei found a hidden camera inside the lampshade and called for a technician to follow up. In the end, he found a lot of videos of the victims on the old man's cell phone, including Jin Shi's. Many of the girls in it were drugged and mesmerized by Jin Shuman, and there were even young girls under the age of 14. The old man, called Li Chang, raped many women and young girls, the plot and its bad circumstances, and was sentenced to death, and Jin Shuman was sentenced to life imprisonment. Jin Shi put everything on Jin Shuman as a victim, and I heard that the back was out of the country and I didn't know where it was. I didn't expect Lu Fei and I to be trapped in the elevator once again after training at the Muay Thai gym today. In the dark elevator, Lu Fei lit up his cell phone flashlight and asked me, "Are you okay?" The psychiatrist said my claustrophobia was caused by childhood trauma. I did a few sessions of psychotherapy and I'm much better. The cell phone light reflected Lu Fei's eyes, so dark that it was as if one could fall into them. "That's good, the little goblin that sucked up air has turned back into a human being." I remembered that lingering kiss from last time. I stood on my tiptoes and wrapped my arms around his neck, covering his lips and murmuring in a small voice, "She's back." He gradually kissed me from shallow to deep to the point that I couldn't even stand up, and I prostrated myself on his chest and snapped, "You're the one who's sucking up people's energy." At that moment, the management opened the elevator door and said suspiciously, "It's you two again." We came out of the elevator in embarrassment. I took out my vibrating cell phone. As soon as I answered the call, my dad's side said to me anxiously and excitedly, "Yao Yao, come to the hospital, your mom is in labor." "Okay Dad, I'll be right there." After hanging up Dad's phone, before I could say anything, Lu Fei said, "I'll send you there. I'm also going to meet my future sister-in-law and brother-in-law." Yes, Xiao Ma is pregnant with a dragon and phoenix child. Now, she has a total of 3 kids who love her.